Well, hello there. And this evening you join me in my kitchen, which is not my usual territory. We're actually not going to look at a car. We're in fact going to cook something this evening. So the only car-related thing I've got is this lovely t-shirt that I got from the lovely Matt from Furious Driving at his meetup at the Motorist on Sunday. So I'm actually going to make something tonight. A, for a bit of a change for the channel, but B, also to respond to Mr. Boaty from Boaty's World, because he set out a challenge to cook the perfect bangers and mash, and I'm responding to that challenge by cooking my version of bangers and mash with onion gravy. So let's have a look at the ingredients we're going to use.
Welcome to Beards and Bangers.
So what do we need to make bangers and mash? Well, of course we need some bangers. So I'm just using some supermarket speciality caramelised onion sausages. These aren't the cheapest ones, but they're not the most expensive. So I'm not going for butcher's sausages. I'm going for something from a supermarket. So they're caramelised onion. We're going to make a gravy with onions. Oh, sorry about that. Dark beer, beef stock, and we're going to season it with cloves, star anise, and a bay leaf. So for me, this is all about the gravy. So the sausages, the mashed potatoes, leftover mash from a previous day, actually going to improve that ever so slightly by stirring in some whole grain mustard to it, and maybe a little extra butter as well, just to make it rich. But I think the one thing we need with a sausage and mash is a sturdy mash. We don't want one that's really wet and that kind of walks across the plate. We want something that's really going to stand up to the gravy. We're adding more liquid and gives you a nice base to place the sausages. We'll also check the seasoning on this, because I don't think I particularly seasoned this well when I made it. So we'll add a little salt if we need it, plus white pepper, because I think white pepper in mash is absolutely lovely. So we'll get on and start the sausages. Right, so the way I do my sausages, I actually put them in the oven. So I've got the oven preheating to 180 fan, but I'm going to start them in this pan. So the reason I'm using this pan is twofold. One, it can go in the oven. Two, it gives me a vehicle to cook the gravy in. So I'm going to use a little bit of lard in here just to start the sausages off on the stovetop. We'll then roast them for about 30 minutes in the oven, turning them halfway through, so that's 15 minutes, just to make sure we get nice and brown. What that'll do is it'll leave us some fat in the pan, which we can then use to caramelise the onions a little bit later on. And also we'll have some caramelisation, some souks, which we'll use to get some flavour into the gravy. So we're going for quite a flavourful gravy, because for me, the onion gravy is the star of the piece. So we're doing 2 onions, and I'm not going to eat all this gravy tonight. Don't think, oh, that's why he's so fat. He's eating masses of gravy. So I'm going to make, enough gravy to use another day, so some can go in the freezer. But 2 onions, and so we've got some nice seasonings: star anise, clove, 1 clove. We don't want to be too strong with cloves because they are very powerful. A bay leaf. So we've got some nice flavours in there which complement the beer. We'll add some beef stock, and then we'll just finish it with some slaked corn flour, just to thicken it. So rather than using flour, we'll use corn flour. You get a slightly, I think, clearer gravy, slightly brighter gravy. And if we really want to make it glossy, we can whisk in some butter as well, but I don't think we'll need that. So we'll let the oven warm up, and then I'll show you how I start the sausages off, get them in the oven, and then we can have a break. Of course, one thing we do need to do is fill this glass with some wine, because you can't cook without having a glass of wine, unless it's breakfast, of course. Right, so I've got a glass of my favourite Sauvignon Blanc on the go. Have a little sip, and now the oven's at temperature, we can start to melt our lard and start to brown the sausages off. The reason I do that is there's no point heating an oven up and then putting cold sausages in a cold pan in the oven. You just drop the temperature straight away. So we get the pan hot, we get the sausages hot, and we're also starting to get that colour, which is going to make for a nicer gravy. So let's crack on and do that. Okay, so this flame's quite aggressive, so I'm just going to turn it down ever so slightly. We don't want too much lard, because we're going to get some fat coming out of the sausages, so we'll just put a little bit of lard in. And I'm using lard because, of course, its smoke point is a little bit higher. And the other reason we're a bit fat is just because this is not a non-stick pan, it's just a stainless steel pan. So we don't want our sausages sticking. Okay, so that's the lard. We'll just get that warm. And I think it said that it's better to cook with natural fat. So, you know, in the 80s, I know when I was growing up, people were saying don't have butter, don't have lard, but actually natural products are better than some of the artificial margarines and spreads, because they're basically chemicals pumped into oil. So that's, oh, excuse the, that's a horrible sound. That's blackboard. That's fingernails on blackboard kind of sound. Do apologise. That's melting away nicely. Let's just let it get warm for a second. Now, I'm not a professional chef or anything like that. I love cooking. It's a passion of mine, and it's nice to do it. So this is I'm quite excited to do this response to Boaty's challenge by cooking. So the oil's nice and hot now. Don't forget, when you put oil, butter, lard in a pan and heat it, it does expand. So you don't need as much as you think. But we'll carefully just now put the sausages in the pan. Just slide them around just to make sure they get some oil underneath them. And already we can see we're getting some colour developing in the pan, which is a really good thing. It's what we want, because that colour is flavour. So we'll just let these just warm through and start to take on some colour. So they're immediately getting colour. You can probably see that it's been frying for about a minute and they've already got some nice colour. So we can do the same on the other side. That's going to get the pan hot, so when it goes in the oven, we're not cooling the oven down. So we'll just they're going nicely. We'll knock the gas down a little bit just to let the heat come in quite slowly. I'm looking forward to this. I'm hungry as well. But it's not a quick dish because the gravy's going to take some time, so we need to cook the gravy properly. Right, so the pan's got some nice heat in it. The sausages are beginning to colour. We'll knock the gas off. Let's move you back slightly so I can open the oven door, which you probably can't see. So 180 fan, and I'll set a timer on my watch. And this is why smartwatches are so bloody handy. 15 minutes. We'll come back, we'll turn them over, give them another 15 minutes, we'll then put them on a plate, and then we'll start making the gravy. And the mash, we're going to microwave because we've been convenient. Mash has been homemade, but just not today. So we'll check back in 15 minutes. Right, so that's 15 minutes gone. We will carefully get the sausages out and just turn them. I use these silicone gloves, which are silicone kind of gloves, which are very handy. What we can see, I'll just show you, is we're getting some lovely browning in the bottom of the pan, which is exactly what we want for our gravy. So these silicone gloves are great because if you are roasting in a pan like this, then you can grab the handle without causing terrible burns. We can see we've got a lovely, that's what I love on sausages, you get a black line on each side and then a kind of a pale bit on the opposite sides. So we'll just flip these over like so. Then back in the oven, move you back, sorry. Keep moving the camera. Back in the oven for another 15 minutes. Right, so the sausages are cooked. We have got some fantastic browning in the bottom of the pan. Now I'm going to put the sausages on a plate and then cover them in foil so they dry out. I'm not worried about them keeping warm because I will show you how I warm the sausages up a little later on. Beautiful, and exactly how I like them. Dark caramelised bit there and then paler there. That's how I like my sausage to look. Don't know if you saw that. There we are. Okay, let's get those covered with foil and then we shall start on the gravy. Right, so we're going to prepare the onions. Now I want quite a thick onion because they're going to cook down and obviously they shrink. So we want quite a coarse cut, and also doing them in half moons as well. So they're not too big. We're going to get like strings of onion. I'm not a chef, as you can tell by my chopping skills here. Get rid of the core. Same with the other half. Same with this one. And the same with this one. There we are. Perfect. Right, turning our attention to the pan. So we'll start off in a, that's hot, fairly high heat. That's why you always make sure you wear your silicone gloves. Didn't grab it for long enough, so that's alright. Make sure we've got a silicone glove on, I think. Let the heat come back into that. We'll start off at a fairly high heat and then we'll drop that down, so we'll let the onions cook quite slowly. Okay, so there's some heat in the pan. We can see the oil bubbling. We'll get the onions in before that caramelised beautifulness burns, because we don't want burnt stuff in our gravy, because that's not good. And the moisture from the onions will loosen up all that brown stuff, which is good. And there's certainly enough oil in there. Lovely. So we'll have these at a fairly high heat just for a few minutes, just to get the water out. And we can use the spatula just to start breaking them down a bit. These are going to be good. I'm not serving any vegetable with this. Some people serve buttered cabbage, some people serve peas. I don't mind peas for sausage and mash, but for me, the vegetable in this dish is the onion. And I won't touch that again. Bottom of the pan's getting a little bit black, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. You may think that's a strange thing to do, but adding water to onions when they're frying, there's no harm in it. It just slows the frying down. That's going to prevent us getting any nasty burnt. There's nothing worse than gravy that's got a burnt flavour. Horrible. We want lovely caramelly flavour. So we'll let that bubble off again, and then we'll put the lid on and let it cook for a good sort of 10-15 minutes on a very low heat. So we'll shove it across to this smaller ring here just to slowly cook. Doesn't have to caramelise, just want them to be nice and soft. And then we can move on to the next stage of the gravy. Okay, so lid on, this ring off, we'll put this ring on, make sure we grab a silicone glove rather than grabbing that handle again. That will cool down and we'll turn the heat right down. We're going to leave them now for 10 minutes and we'll check back to see how they're doing. Okay, so our onions have been softening. This handle has now cooled down, so I don't really need the silicone glove. Yeah, they've softened nicely, so nice low temperature. We'll get the heat back on the big aircraft engine ring. Go on, turn on, you bugger. Here we are. So let's do a slightly higher temperature just for a few minutes, just to get rid of some of this moisture, because we want to put our beer in. And the secret, I think, when cooking with alcohol, even beer, is to get it reduced really quickly. The colour of that already, that's a really rich gravy, which I love. Okay, so in a moment we're going to put our beer in. When we put the beer in, we're going to season, put some interesting flavours in as well. So I'm jiggling around because I'm stirring with one hand and holding the camera with the other. So our seasonings are a bay leaf, and you can see that this is from my garden. I've just put a couple of cuts in the bay leaf. That's because I find bay leaves very robust, and the scent of bay leaves I absolutely love. So we put a few cuts in just to release the flavour. We're going to put 1 star anise in and 1 clove. Be careful with cloves because they're really strong in flavour, and they can just make a nice dish into something a dentist would give you. And then we're going to before we put all of those seasonings in, we're going to put our beer in and bubble it off very quickly. Right, so that excess liquid has gone and the onions are beginning to go sticky and caramelly and lovely. I'm very pleased with the colour there. So we're going to whack the heat up. We're going to get our beer in. Well, I thought our beer was darker than that, but I think we've got enough colour from our caramelisation and lovely bits in the bottom of the pan. So heat right up, we'll get a clove, if I can grab one. 1 clove. 1 star anise. Oh, it smells so good. I love aniseed. I love aniseed. And our bay leaf. So we'll get that in. Splash it all over the oven. Make a mess. So you can see that's now very liquidy. So we're going to take that down. Not to nothing, but probably half that quantity of liquid. And then we'll get some stock in as well and do the same again and reduce it. Just to really get a nice intense flavour. Because for me, as I said at the beginning, sausage and mash is all about the gravy. The onion gravy. It's got to be onion gravy. Right, you don't need to see this bubbling away and reducing. You all know what that looks like. And this isn't a serious cooking video. Well, it kind of is. I'm kind of enjoying making this. It's a bit of a change. But it's a video response to Mr. Boaty. Okay, so the beer is now really well reduced. If I was being chefy, I would call this consistency sirupeuse. So now we can put the beef stock in, and it's literally just a Knorr beef stock cube dissolved in warm water. So about 500 ml of beer went in, so we'll do the same. I think we spilled some there. We'll do the same with beef stock, and we'll cook this down not quite as much because we obviously want enough liquid. We'll just reduce it a little bit just so everything mingles and those herbs and spices kind of infuse into the sauce a bit. And we'll turn this heat right down this time and just let that bubble away. And I won't show it bubbling away because we know what's happening. We know what's going on in the pan. Okay, so what you haven't seen is this kind of base of the gravy has been resting for a few hours. Let it go cold. Let the flavours infuse. You've got so much going on in there. You've got star anise, you've got the clove, you've got the bay leaf, loads of onions. So we need to let it meld a little bit. and it does smell absolutely wonderful. I wish we could do smell-o-vision, I really do. I'm now going to add some corn flour. So it's 1 teaspoon of corn flour, diluted in about 3 teaspoons of water, maybe a little more than that. And we'll just let that go into the gravy, stir it in, and that's gone thick straight away. Marvellous. Right, that's done. So the gravy is done. Let's do the mash. Okay, so the mash is in this microwavable pot. Going to put it in the microwave for 2 minutes. Then we'll add a little bit of butter and the mustard. Okay, so I put a little bit of butter in the mash. I'm just going to add a little bit of grain mustard. A teaspoon, I reckon, in there. I love grain mustard as well. I'm going to eat that out of a spoon because it's so good. And we'll just mix that in. Mustard mash. Get that incorporated as best we can. I love mashed potato. My belly does not like mashed potato so much. That's why it's so big. Okay, quick taste. Needs more salt. A little bit of salt. We'll get some white pepper in there as well, because that's really nice. In our mash. Give it a good mix round. There we are. Well, that's going to be so good. A little taste. Oh, that's nice. That is good. Right, we'll ping that for a minute. Right, so I cooked 6 sausages. I only want 3 with my mash. That's quite enough. So what we'll do is we'll put 3 in the gravy, and that will reheat our sausages. The other 3 sausages I will put in the fridge, wrapped in foil, and they will be a sausage sandwich another day, which I shan't bring on video because sausage sandwich, we know what it looks like. That's the mash done, so we'll just let these sausages come into some heat, which they will do, and then we shall dress the plate. Okay, so on my plate I've already got a mound of mash. Let's just get the sausages. Get one last stir. We shall pile the sausages up. There we are, nice upright sausage, what everyone wants. Lovely, and then we'll get the ladle and we'll ladle over some of the onion gravy. Look at the texture of that, that is lovely. That's enough for one person, there we go. Pop that back there. And there we have it. Beards and Bangers does bangers and mash. I'm going to eat that now. So thank you for watching. A departure from cars, for sure. If you like what you've seen, please hit like, subscribe, all that business. If you think I should do more cooking videos, please tell me in the comments, and I shall have a think about how I incorporate that into my channel. But for now, I'm going to enjoy this. You enjoy your evening, your night, whatever you're doing. And I shall see you again very soon on Beards and Bangers. Goodbye.